The alarm started screaming at exactly midday station time. Commander Taiho had been drinking his morning tea in the observation deck when the red lights began flashing. He put down his cup calmly and walked to the main control room. Around him, Valorian officers were running and shouting. Their pale blue skin had turned almost white with fear. "What is happening?" Taiho asked the nearest officer. The Valorian pointed at the main screen with a shaking hand. A ship. It came out of faster-than-light travel. But the design, we cannot identify it. Taiho looked at the screen. The ship was beautiful in a strange way. It was black and silver, shaped like a long blade. It was smaller than the Imperial cruisers, but something about it felt dangerous, like a knife hidden in a sleeve. High Overseer Malax pushed through the crowd. He was tall, even for a Valorian, with the traditional golden marks on his forehead that showed his noble birth. His eyes were wide as he stared at the unknown vessel. "Run the identification program again," he ordered. "We already ran it 5 times, Overseer," a young officer replied. "The computer cannot match it to any known species." "That is impossible. We have records of every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy." The computer beeped. Everyone went silent. New information appeared on the screen, and when Malax read it, his face changed. It looked like someone had just told him his family was dead. "It cannot be," he whispered. Taiho stepped closer to read the screen. The words were simple, but they made his heart beat faster. Ship origin, Sol system, species, human. The control room exploded into chaos. Officers were shouting. Some were praying to their gods. Others were calling for weapons to be armed. Malax had to slam his hand on the console 3 times before everyone went quiet. "Humans," he said slowly, like he was tasting a poison. "The quarantine species." Taiho knew about humans. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans. They were a young species from a small planet called Earth. The Galactic Empire had discovered them about 200 years ago and immediately placed them under quarantine. The official reason was that humans were too primitive for galactic contact. The real reason, Taiho suspected, was that humans scared the Empire. Their history was filled with war and violence. They had nearly destroyed their own planet multiple times. The Empire decided it was safer to keep them locked in their own solar system. But here was a human ship, in Imperial space, with technology that should not exist. The communication system crackled. A voice spoke in perfect Imperial standard, clear and calm. "Orbital Station 17, this is the Earth vessel Baekdu. We come in peace. We request permission to dock. We carry diplomatic representatives who wish to speak with your government." Malax looked around the room like he was hoping someone would tell him this was a dream. No one did. "How do we respond, Overseer?" an officer asked. Before Malax could answer, Taiho spoke. "We let them dock." Everyone stared at him. Taiho was not Valorian. He was Kithrani, from a merchant species that had joined the Empire centuries ago. He had no authority here, but he continued anyway. If they wanted to attack, they would have done it already. They're asking to talk. If we refuse, we learn nothing. If we accept, we learn everything. Malax considered this for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Prepare docking bay 7. Maximum security. And someone contact the Galactic Council. They need to know about this immediately." 1 hour later, Taiho stood in the docking bay with 50 armed guards. The human ship had connected to the station smoothly, like its pilot had done this 1,000 times before. The airlock doors hissed open. The first human Taiho ever saw was a woman. She was shorter than he expected, with black hair tied behind her head and dark eyes that seemed to notice everything. She wore a simple gray uniform with a small flag on her shoulder, blue and red with a white center. Behind her came three others. A tall man with a serious face who moved like a soldier. A young woman who was looking around with obvious excitement. And another man who carried a medical bag and seemed the most nervous of the group. The woman in front stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Yuna of the United Earth Government. Thank you for receiving us." Her imperial standard was perfect. Better than perfect, actually. She had no accent at all. Malax stepped forward, trying to look confident but failing. "I am High Overseer Malax. You will explain how you are here. Humans do not have faster-than-light technology. You were observed 50 cycles ago. You had nothing but chemical rockets." Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, polite but with something hidden behind it. 50 cycles is a long time, Overseer. Much can change. Not this much. No species advances this quickly. Humans do. The tall man behind Yuna spoke. "I am Captain Taiho of the Baikdu." He paused when he saw the Kithrani officer. "It seems we share a name." The Kithrani Taiho blinked in surprise. He had not expected the human to notice such a small detail. Malax was getting impatient. "You will come with us for questioning. Your ship will be searched." "No," Yuna said. Her voice was still calm, but there was iron underneath it. "Our ship will not be searched. We are diplomats, not criminals. We came here openly, with peaceful intentions. We carry a formal request for an audience with the Galactic Council. You are in no position to make demands." Yuna reached into her uniform and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and suddenly the main screen in the docking bay lit up. It showed a star map, Imperial space, and beyond. And at the edge of the map, 40 dots were blinking. "Those are human warships," Yuna said quietly. "They are waiting at the border of your space. They are not here to invade. They are here to make sure we can leave safely after our diplomatic mission. If something happens to us, they will come. And Overseer, I promise you, you do not want them to come." The room was completely silent. Yuna put the device away and smiled again, warmer this time. "But that will not be necessary, because we are going to be friends. We are going to talk and trade and learn from each other. Humanity has been alone for a very long time. We are tired of being alone." She extended her hand toward Malax. "What do you say, Overseer? Will you take us to your council?" Malax stared at her hand like it was a weapon. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it. In that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The Grand Assembly Hall on Valoria Prime was the largest building in the galaxy. It could hold 10,000 representatives from 200 different species. Its ceiling was made of crystal that showed the stars above, and its walls were carved with the history of the Valorian Empire. 12,000 years of conquest and control. Today, every seat was filled. News of the human arrival had spread across Imperial space in hours. Species that had not attended council meetings in centuries had sent representatives. Everyone wanted to see the impossible with their own eyes. Ambassador Yuna stood alone in the center of the hall. The speaking platform was designed to make visitors feel small, surrounded by thousands of alien faces looking down at them. Most species found it terrifying. Yuna looked completely calm. Supreme Chancellor Varath, the leader of the council, rose from his throne. He was ancient, even by Valorian standards, with skin so pale it was almost transparent. His voice echoed through the hall. "You stand before the Galactic Council, human. You will explain yourself." Yuna bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Supreme Chancellor. I am Ambassador Yuna of the United Earth Government. I bring greetings from humanity and a formal request for diplomatic relations with the Galactic Empire." Whispers spread through the hall. A Morden general in the military section leaned forward with interest. A group of Kithrani merchants were already calculating potential profits. Diplomatic relations? Counselor Vex laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. You are a quarantined species. You were confined to your system for the safety of the galaxy. How did you escape? How did you develop this technology? We were never prisoners, Counselor. We were simply not invited to leave. Yuna smiled slightly. So we invited ourselves. Answer the question. How did you advance so quickly? Yuna was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was serious. 63 years ago, my species fought its Third World War. 2 billion people died. Our planet was nearly destroyed. When the war ended, we had a choice. We could continue fighting each other until we went extinct. Or we could unite and reach for the stars. She paused. We chose the stars. Impossible, another counselor said. No species can advance from chemical rockets to faster than light travel in 60 years. Humans can. When we have no other choice, we can do almost anything. Intelligence Director Palak stood up from his seat. He was thin and sharp-eyed, the kind of person who noticed everything and trusted nothing. I have prepared a report on human technological development. May I present it to the Council? Chancellor Vorath nodded. Palux activated a holographic display. Charts and numbers filled the air. According to our records, humans were using primitive nuclear weapons 100 years ago. 50 years ago, they had basic space stations. 20 years ago, they achieved fusion power. 10 years ago, they built their first faster-than-light engine. He looked at the Council. Their rate of advancement is 12 times faster than any recorded species in galactic history. The hall exploded into noise. Representatives were shouting, some in fear, some in disbelief. Chancellor Vorath had to call for silence 3 times before order was restored. Counselor Vex stood up, his face twisted with anger. This is exactly why humans were quarantined. They are dangerous. They advance too fast. They fight too much. They cannot be controlled. I propose immediate military action. We must destroy Earth before it is too late. That would be unwise, Yuna said calmly. You do not speak unless spoken to, human. I speak when I choose, Counselor. And I am telling you that attacking Earth would be the worst mistake your empire has ever made. Vex laughed again. You have 1 ship. We have thousands. We have 40 ships at your border right now. We have 300 more at home. And we have something your empire does not have. What is that? Nothing to lose. Yuna's eyes were cold now. Humans have already faced extinction multiple times. We have looked into the darkness and survived. If you attack us, we will not surrender. We will not negotiate. We will fight until every last human is dead, and we will make sure you pay a price so high that your empire will never recover. The hall was silent. Even Counselor Vex had nothing to say. Yuna let the silence hang for a moment. Then her expression softened. But we do not want war. We want peace. We want trade. We want to learn from you and share what we have learned. Humanity has much to offer: art, music, food, technology. We want to be part of galactic civilization, not enemies of it. Trade Minister Kithax from the merchant faction raised his hand. What kind of trade are you proposing? Fair trade. Equal partners. No master species, no servant species. Just honest exchange. Kithax's eyes lit up. The Kithrani had always resented the Valorian trade laws that favored the ruling species. An equal partnership with a new power could change everything. General Threk of the Morden stood up. His people were warriors, conquered by the Empire 3,000 years ago. They had never forgotten their freedom. You said humans have faced extinction and survived. Tell me more about this. Yuna turned to him. We have killed each other with swords, guns, bombs, and biological weapons. We have poisoned our air, our water, our land. We have driven countless species on our planet to extinction. And yet we are still here. We learned from every mistake. We became stronger. She met his eyes. Suffering did not destroy us. It made us. Threk nodded slowly. There was respect in his eyes. Chancellor Vorath raised his hand. The Council will consider your request. You will wait for our decision. Of course, Yuna said. But Chancellor, may I say one more thing? Speak. The galaxy is changing. New powers are rising. Old systems are failing. The Empire can try to hold on to the past, or it can embrace the future. She looked around the hall at all the different species. Humanity is offering you friendship. I hope you are wise enough to accept it. She bowed and walked out of the hall. Behind her, the council erupted into chaos. Arguments broke out between factions. Councillor Vex was screaming about war. Trade Minister Kithax was already planning business deals. General Threk was watching the door where Yuna had disappeared, a small smile on his face. Back on the bike too, Captain Taiho was waiting. How did it go? Yuna sat down heavily. For the first time, she looked tired. We planted the seed. Now we wait and see what grows. Do you think they will accept peace? Some of them will. The merchants want our trade. The more than one allies against the Valorians. She closed her eyes. But Councillor Vex and his faction want war. They see us as a threat to their power. Are they wrong? Yuna opened her eyes and smiled. No, they are absolutely right. We are a threat to their power. The question is whether they are smart enough to realize that fighting us is worse than accepting us. Captain Taiho nodded. And if they are not smart enough, then we will show them. Yuna's voice was quiet but firm. One way or another, humanity is taking its place in this galaxy. The Empire can be our friend or our enemy. The choice is theirs. Outside the viewport, the stars of the Imperial capital glittered like diamonds. Somewhere out there, 40 human warships waited in silence, ready for whatever came next. The message came 3 days after Yuna's speech to the council. It was polite, formal, and clearly a trap. They want a military exercise, Captain Taiho said, reading the message on the bridge of the Baekdu. A friendly demonstration of our capabilities. 1 human ship against 3 Imperial cruisers. Jiwoo, the ship's engineer, looked up from her console. 3 against 1? That does not sound very friendly. It is a test, Yuna said. She was standing by the viewport, watching the stars. They want to see what we can do. If we refuse, they will think we are weak. If we accept and lose, they will think we are not a real threat. And if we win? Yuna turned around. Then they will know exactly how dangerous we are. Captain Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. We accept. Tell them we will meet them in the neutral zone. The neutral zone was a stretch of empty space far from any inhabited worlds. The Empire used it for weapons testing and war games. It was the perfect place for a battle that was not supposed to be a battle. The Baekdu arrived first. Captain Taiho sat in the command chair, his face calm. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. Everyone knew what was at stake. This was not just a fight between ships. This was a fight for humanity's future. Imperial ships arriving, the sensor officer reported. 3 Valorian heavy cruisers. Class 7. Taiho looked at the tactical display. The Imperial ships were big, much bigger than the Baekdu. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Their shields could take hundreds of hits before failing. Their weakness? Taiho asked. They are slow, Jiwoo answered. Heavy armor, heavy weapons, but slow to turn. Also, their tactics are very predictable. Imperial Navy doctrine has not changed in 2,000 years. Good. We are going to show them something new. The communication system activated. A Valorian voice spoke with obvious confidence. Human vessel, this is Commander Relax of the Imperial Third Fleet. Are you ready to begin? We are ready, Taiho replied. The rules are simple. Combat continues until one side surrenders or is disabled. Weapons will be set to train mode, reduced power, no lethal damage. Do you understand? We understand. Then let us begin. The three cruisers moved into attack formation. It was a classic Imperial tactic. 2 ships flanking, 1 ship leading. They advanced slowly, confidently, like predators approaching prey. Taiho waited. Captain, the weapons officer said. They are in range. Not yet. The cruisers kept coming. They were almost on top of the Baekdu now. The crew was getting nervous. Captain, they are about to fire. I know. Taiho's voice was completely calm. Jiwoo, are the engine modifications ready? Ready, Captain. Everyone hold on to something. The cruisers fired. Beams of energy shot toward the Baekdu from 3 directions. Now, Taiho said. The Baekdu moved. It did not just dodge. It danced. The ship spun and twisted and accelerated in ways that seemed impossible. The energy beams missed by meters as the human vessel weaved between them like a fish swimming through water. On the Imperial ships, officers stared at their screens in disbelief. No ship moved like that. The G-forces alone would kill any crew. But humans were not like other species. They had evolved on a heavy gravity world with unpredictable conditions. They could survive forces that would crush a Valorian. And they had trained for exactly this kind of combat. The Baekdu came out of its spin directly behind the lead cruiser. Before the Imperial ship could react, Taiho fired. The shot hit the cruiser's engine section perfectly. The big ship shuddered and slowed, its main propulsion damaged. 1 down, Taiho said. 2 to go. Commander Relax's voice came through the communication system, angry now. Lucky shot. All ships, new formation. Surround them. The 2 remaining cruisers tried to trap the Baekdu between them. But Jiwoo had already adjusted the shield frequencies. When the Imperial weapons hit, most of the energy was absorbed and redirected back at the attackers. Impossible, one of the Valorian officers shouted. They changed their shields in the middle of combat. That is not possible. Humans do not follow your rules, Jiwoo muttered, adjusting another setting. The battle continued for 10 more minutes. The Baekdu was everywhere and nowhere, striking and vanishing, hitting weak points that the Imperial crews did not even know existed. Captain Taiho did not fight like a normal commander. He improvised. He adapted. He did things that were not in any military manual. Then disaster struck, but not for the humans. One of the Imperial cruisers took a hit to its reactor section. The training weapons should not have caused serious damage, but the ship was old and the reactor was poorly maintained. Warning lights flashed. The reactor was failing. All hands, abandon ship. The cruiser's captain shouted. Escape pods began launching, but there were too many crew members and not enough pods. Some would be left behind when the reactor exploded. Commander Relax watched helplessly from his ship. There was nothing he could do. The rescue shuttles were too far away. Then the Baekdu changed course. Instead of pressing its advantage, the human ship flew directly toward the damaged cruiser. What are they doing? Relax whispered. Captain Taiho's voice came through the communication system. Imperial cruiser, we are coming to help. Open your docking ports. This is a combat exercise. You cannot. Open your docking ports now, or your people will die. Relax hesitated for only a moment. Do it. The bike dude connected to the damaged cruiser. Human crew members in emergency suits rushed aboard, helping Valorians reach the escape pods. Sung-ho, the ship's medic, treated wounded officers without caring about their species. Ji-woo went to the engine room and somehow stabilized the reactor long enough for everyone to evacuate. When the last person was safe, the bike dude disconnected and pulled away. 30 seconds later, the cruiser exploded. But every crew member had survived. The exercise was over. No one talked about winners or losers. The Imperial officers just stared at the human ship, not understanding what they had just witnessed. Commander Relax finally spoke. You saved them. You were winning. You could have let them die and claimed complete victory. Why did you save them? Captain Taiho's response was simple. Because they needed help, but they are your enemies. Today, they were our opponents in a training exercise. That does not make them our enemies. Taiho paused. Humans have learned something that your empire has forgotten, Commander. True strength is not just about destroying your enemies. It is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves, even if they would not do the same for you. There was a long silence. Then Commander Relax did something unexpected. He gave the human ship a formal salute, the highest honor an Imperial officer could show. I will report what happened here honestly, he said. The Council wanted to know if humans were dangerous. The answer is yes, you are very dangerous. But not in the way they feared. The bike dude turned and began its journey back to Imperial space. Behind them, Imperial officers talked quietly among themselves. They had come to test a primitive species. They had found something else entirely. They had found equals. And that scared them more than any weapon ever could. Counselor Vex was not a patient man. He had watched the recording of the military exercise 17 times, and each viewing made him angrier than the last. One human ship had defeated 3 Imperial cruisers. One ship, and instead of finishing the victory, the humans had stopped to rescue enemy crew members. The Imperial officers were now talking about human honor and human courage. Some were even saying the Empire should accept the human offer of peace. This could not be allowed. Vex sat in his private office, surrounded by shadows. Across from him sat a figure in a dark cloak. The figure had no visible face, no name. It was a representative of the Dominion of Shadows, an illegal network of assassins and spies that officially did not exist. The situation is simple, Vex said. The human ambassadors must die. Without them, there will be no peace treaty. War will be inevitable. And you want it to look like an accident, the figure said. Its voice was like dry leaves scraping across stone. No, I want it to look like pirates. Random violence. Nothing connected to the Empire or to me. That will cost extra. I do not care about cost. I care about results. The figure nodded slowly. It will be done. The diplomatic dinner tomorrow night. A perfect opportunity. Vex smiled. It was not a nice smile. Make sure there are no survivors. On the other side of the Imperial capital, Ambassador Yuno was having a very different kind of meeting. Trade Minister Kithax had invited her to his private residence, a massive building filled with art and treasures from across the galaxy. The Kithrani were merchants above all else, and Kithax was the richest of them all. Your offer interests me, Kithax said, pouring 2 glasses of expensive wine. Equal trade partnerships. No unfair taxes. No special privileges for Valorians. He handed Yuna a glass. The Empire has never offered such terms to anyone. That is because the Empire believes it is superior to everyone else, Yuna replied. Humans do not share that belief. We judge species by their actions, not their birth. Dangerous thinking. Perhaps. But it is also good business. Partners work harder than servants. Friends are more reliable than slaves. Kithax laughed. It was a genuine laugh, the first honest emotion Yuna had seen from him. I like you, Ambassador. You understand how the galaxy really works. The door opened and another guest arrived. General Threk of the Morden entered, his massive frame filling the doorway. He wore his military uniform, but without the imperial symbols. A small act of rebellion. General, Yuna said. Thank you for coming. Threk sat down heavily. I watched the recording of your combat exercise. Your captain showed great honor in saving the enemy crew. He did what any good person would do. No, he did what most species would never consider. That is why I am here. Threk leaned forward. The Morden were conquered 3,000 years ago. We have served the Empire ever since, fighting their wars, dying for their causes. We have never forgotten our freedom. And you see us as a possible ally. I see you as hope. Threk's eyes were intense. If humans can rise from nothing to challenge the Empire in 60 years, perhaps we can finally break free. Perhaps all the conquered species can. Yuna was quiet for a moment. This was exactly what she had hoped for. The Empire was not one united civilization. It was a collection of species held together by fear and tradition. If that unity broke, humanity offers friendship to all species who want it, she said carefully. We do not ask you to rebel. We do not ask you to fight. We only ask that you consider what kind of future you want. One where you are ruled, or one where you are free. Before Threk could respond, the door burst open. Hyeben, the Bekdu security chief, rushed in. Her face was pale. Ambassador, we have a problem. Back on the ship, Hyeben explained what she had found. I have been monitoring communications around the station. There are unusual patterns. Encrypted messages, untraceable signals, money transfers to hidden accounts. Someone is planning something. Who? Taiho asked. I traced one of the signals to Counselor Vex's office. I cannot prove he is directly involved, but it is obvious, Yuna said. Vex wants war. The best way to start a war is to kill the diplomats. The diplomatic dinner is tomorrow night, Hyeben said. If they are going to act, that is when they will do it. Captain Taiho stood up. Then we cancel the dinner. No, Yuna's voice was firm. If we cancel, we show weakness. We show fear. The Empire will never respect a species that hides from danger. You could die, Ambassador. Yuna smiled sadly. I knew the risks when I accepted this mission. Humanity needs this treaty. If my death prevents it, we fail. If I survive the attempt, we show the galaxy that humans cannot be intimidated. She looked at Hyeben. Can you protect us? Hyeben thought for a long moment. Maybe, if I know how the attack will come, then find out. The diplomatic dinner was held in the Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace. Hundreds of guests attended. Ambassadors, ministers, military officers. The human delegation sat at a table of honor, surrounded by species that had never met humans before. Yuna smiled and made small talk. She complimented the food, asked questions about different cultures, told jokes that made even the serious Valorians laugh. No one would guess that she was waiting to die. Hyeben was watching everything. She had placed hidden sensors around the room. Her eyes moved constantly, looking for anything unusual. And then she found it. One of the servers was nervous. Not the normal nervousness of working at an important event. This was something deeper. Fear. Guilt. The server kept touching something in his pocket. Hyeben moved through the crowd quietly. She got close to the server just as he approached Yuna's table. In his hand was a small bottled up poison. Hyeben acted without thinking. She bumped into the server, pretending to be clumsy. The bottle flew from his hand and shattered on the floor. The server tried to run, but Hyeben caught him easily. Security. She shouted. Assassin! The room exploded into chaos. Guards rushed forward. Guests screamed and pushed toward the exits. The server was captured within seconds, and then came the real surprise. Intelligence. Director Palix himself stepped forward to question the assassin. Within minutes, the truth came out. The server was a hired killer, paid by the Dominion of Shadows, working on behalf of someone in the Imperial government. The connection to Counselor Vex was discovered within hours. He had been careful, but not careful enough. The evidence was clear. The next morning, Vex was arrested in front of the entire council. He screamed about human dangers and imperial purity, but no one listened. He had tried to murder diplomats at a peace dinner. He had shamed the Empire in front of the entire galaxy. Chancellor Varth addressed the council personally. This is a dark day for our civilization. We invited humans to talk peace, and one of our own tried to kill them. He looked at Yuna. Ambassador, on behalf of the Galactic Empire, I apologize. Yuna stood. I accept your apology, Chancellor. And I hope this incident shows you something important. Humanity is not your enemy. Your own fear is your enemy. Counselor Vex was so afraid of change that he was willing to start a war. That kind of fear destroys civilizations from within. She paused. We are still offering peace. We are still offering friendship. The question is, are you ready to accept it? The council voted that afternoon. The result was not even close. Peace won. 6 months had passed and Pac-2 first appeared at Orbital Station 17. The galaxy had changed more in those 6 months than in the previous 1,000 years. The signing ceremony for the Terra Accords was held on neutral ground, a space station at the exact center point between Earth and Valoria Prime. Representatives from 200 species attended. Camera drones from every major news network broadcast the event to trillions of viewers across the galaxy. Ambassador Yuna stood at the signing table, pen in hand. Across from her sat Supreme Chancellor Vorith. He looked older than before, tired. The last 6 months had been difficult for him. The peace faction had won, but the hardliners had not gone quietly. This treaty represents a new beginning, Vorith said, his voice carrying through the hall. The Galactic Empire and the United Earth government agreed to full diplomatic relations, equal trade rights, and mutual defense. No master species. No servant species. Partners. He signed the document. Yuna signed below him. The hall erupted in applause. But not everyone was clapping. In the back of the room, a group of Vylorian officers watched with cold eyes. They still believed in the old ways. They still thought humans were dangerous primitives who should have been destroyed. They would cause trouble in the years to come. But for now, peace had won. After the ceremony, Yuna found herself standing alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. Captain Taiho joined her. Congratulations, Ambassador, he said. You did it. Yuna shook her head. We did it. Yumi, Jiwoo, Hyeben, Sangho. The crew of the Baekdu. Earth Command. Everyone who believed we could make this work. What happens now? Now the real work begins. Yuna turned to face him. A treaty is just paper. Making it real takes years of effort. Building trust. Proving ourselves. Showing the galaxy that humans are worth believing in. She smiled slightly. By the way, I recommended you for promotion. Admiral Taiho. How does that sound? Taiho blinked in surprise. Admiral? Me? Earth Command wants to create an expeditionary fleet. Ships that will explore beyond Imperial space. Make contact with new species, find new opportunities. They need someone to lead it. Someone who knows how to fight, but also knows when not to fight. Someone who saved enemy crew members when he could have let them die. She looked at him steadily. Someone like you. Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. I will do my best. I know you will. On Valoria Prime, Intelligence Director Palak sat in his office reviewing reports. The peace treaty was signed, but his job was not finished. His job was never finished. In front of him was a projection showing humanity's technological growth over the past century. The line went almost straight up. At current rates, humans would match imperial industrial capacity in 40 years. In 80 years, they would double it. In a century, they would surpass everything the Empire had built in 12,000 years. His aide entered nervously. Director, is something wrong? Palak did not look away from the projection. Do you know what the Empire's greatest strength has been for 12,000 years? Our military? Our technology? No, our certainty. Palak finally turned around. We have always known that we were the greatest civilization in the galaxy. We built the largest fleet, conquered the most species, controlled the most resources. We were certain of our place at the top. And now? Now we are not certain anymore. And that uncertainty will change everything. Palak looked back at the projection. The old families, the military hardliners, the traditionalists, they will not accept this. They will try to undo the treaty, provoke a war, restore the old order. And they will fail because you cannot stop change by fighting it. You can only destroy yourself trying. The aide swallowed nervously. So what do? We adapt. We learn. We find ways to work with humans instead of against them. Palak turned off the projection. Or we watch our empire crumble. Those are the only choices. On the Morden homeworld, General Freck addressed a crowd of thousands. For the first time in 3,000 years, they were not speaking Imperial Standard. They were speaking their own ancient language. The humans showed us what is possible, Freck said, his voice strong. They were called primitive. They were locked away. They were told they would never be allowed to join galactic civilization. And they came anyway. They built their ships, they knocked on the Empire's door, and they demanded to be treated as equals. The crowd roared with approval. We've been servants for too long. We have forgotten what it means to be free. But the humans have reminded us. Not through war, through example. They showed us that courage and determination can overcome any obstacle. Freck raised his fist. The Empire is changing. The old order is falling. And when it falls, we will be ready. Not to fight, not to conquer, but to take our place as free people among the stars. On Earth, a new school opened its doors for the first time. The Galactic Humanities Institute was designed to train the next generation of human explorers, diplomats, and peacekeepers. Its first class included 300 students from every nation on the planet. Una stood at the entrance, welcoming each student personally. She had refused every political office, every honor, every title. This was what she wanted: to teach, to guide, to prepare humanity for its future among the stars. An old friend found her during the opening ceremony. It was the Kithrani Taiho, the officer from Orbital Station 17, who had shared a name with the human captain. I requested a transfer to Earth, he explained. I want to learn more about your species. I want to understand how you changed everything so quickly. Una laughed. We did not change anything. We just refused to accept that things had to stay the same. That is what I want to learn. She nodded and offered her hand. Then, welcome to Earth. I think you will fit in well here. Far away, at the edge of explored space, the newly renamed First Expeditionary Fleet was preparing for its first mission. Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Jurison. Around him were 11 other ships, crewed by humans and aliens working together. Admiral Jiwoo reported from her engineering station. All ships report ready for jump. Taiho nodded. Beyond the viewport, unknown stars waited. species the Empire had never contacted, worlds that had never been explored, a whole galaxy full of possibilities. "Set course for the unknown," he ordered. "Let us see what is out there." The fleet jumped to faster than light travel, disappearing in flashes of light. They were heading into the darkness, but they were not afraid. They had already faced the darkness and survived. Whatever they found out there, they would face it the same way, together. In his office on Valoria Prime, Intelligence Director Palix received a message. The human fleet had left Imperial space, heading into uncharted territory. He added this information to his endless reports and projections. His aide asked the same question from before. What do we do? This time, Palix had a different answer. He looked out at the stars toward the direction the human ships had gone. "We watch," he said. "We learn. And we pray that they find friends out there instead of enemies." He paused. "Because whatever they find, it will change the galaxy again. That is what humans do. They change things." He returned to his work. The old order was ending. The new order was just beginning. And somewhere out there, among the stars, humanity was writing the next chapter of history. No one knew how the story would end. But everyone knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same again.